Hi, Christine Marie. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you here. I'm excited about our topic because I know there's a lot of people that need to hear what you have to share. And today we're going to be talking about the inner healing when it comes to grief, ritual, and just reclaiming space. And so before we dive in, can I have you to introduce yourself to our listeners, please?
Sure. Yeah. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm Christine Marie, and I love to just say that I hold safe and sacred spaces for others for healing and transformation. And I do that through many different modalities, but some of them really being more intentional ceremonies with or without sacred plant medicines. And yeah, I do some sound healing. I'm a writer as well. And I really believe in sharing our gifts and our service with the world so that we can make greater impact and not feel so alone. And what I feel like is like a loneliness epidemic right now.
Wow, I love your share. I love what you do. The fact that you're helping people. I definitely want to talk about so many things today, but can we start with plant medicine? And in what ways do you incorporate this into your practice with helping people? Do you help when it comes to dealing with grief and using the plant medicine, or is that totally separate?
Oh, no, it's all included. You could say if you have a past history or a current history of grief, trauma, a feeling of maybe lack of confidence or wanting to know more about consciousness, I would say psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, is a psychedelic that I work with. And so I hold space for people when they want to essentially commune with this plant. They'll drink it. You can have it in a tea form, and we have an intention that's an intentional space. It's not, there's a lot of a history of people using this in a recreational way, but it's really more so meeting the medicine with reverence and respect in a way, knowing that it has teachings and wisdom and healings to offer you, and also that you have a lot to offer it as well. And I work with many people moving through many different things, some of what I just mentioned. And when they're in the process of their journey, there can be maybe past experiences that came up that they suppressed that's been causing them depression or anxiety or maybe mental health issues. Also, for people with physical problems like diseases or physical ailments, like the medicine can help reestablish the mind and body connection. So it can actually help heal the body, it can help heal the neural pathways. And specifically with grief, in a holistic way, grief is usually stored in the lungs and in the heart space. So some people that have a really hard time maybe expressing emotionally or feeling like their heart is open, it could be because past grief or current grief is preventing them from essentially having that spaciousness for joy or spaciousness for love. And so the medicine with the magic mushrooms, they can support people in maybe releasing that suppressed emotion out of their body, out of their energetic field, so that then more spaciousness for joy, love, compassion, empathy can arise within them.
Oh, that's good stuff. I love it. What inspired you to write Grieve with Guidance? And how would you say that your life has, or your relationship with grief has evolved since writing the book?
Yeah, so I just published Grave with Guidance about a couple weeks ago, and it was a tool for me after my father passed last year. Him and I had a really estranged relationship up until the point that he transitioned. And to be honest with you, I had really I was having a really hard time with a lot of that relationship my whole life. I would say that my father's absence and presence was probably the main course of my own suffering as a child. And so doing the inner healing work to find forgiveness and love and understanding for him was not a linear process, is not a linear process, and is not an easy one. But in order for me to really get to that place, I had to acknowledge and really feel the grief that I had been carrying since I was honestly in the womb of my mother. And I really believe that the only way out of something is through it. And so we have to be willing to feel and face the grief that lives within us. And I think some people are so afraid of staying in the grief. And I can understand that because sometimes those feelings can feel like they are going to last forever. But when I wrote the book, I saw myself embodying the teachings that I was sharing in the book, which is to really just give yourself full permission to feel the truth of what is here. And when my father passed, there was complete heartache and also relief and peace. And oh my gosh, I don't have to worry his well being like I always have for since I was a child. Like I was always in the back of my mind taking care of him and wanting him to be okay because he was such a lifelong sufferer. And I think sometimes it's hard to admit that when someone that we love passes that, yeah, I'm happy in a way that he's gone. And since his passing, I will say him and I have had the most close relationship we've ever had with him, other than like with him even being here, like physically. And I believe it's because I really allowed that space for my grief to be felt that I've been able to make that new relationship possible for us. And it completely has transformed my life.
Wow, I love that. What are some of the practices that you've implemented to help you to move along? Has it been like the medicine?
Oh, I will say psychedelics, plant medicines are some of my biggest allies. They really, what I believe can happen is like when we're moving through something really hard and uncomfortable and challenging, is that there's this place of aloneness and I would say maybe victimhood that we can get caught in and stuck in. And what I have really been able to glean on and lean on with these plant medicines is that, oh, they're here to help me. They're here. None of what I'm going through is a punishment. It's actually here to teach me something. It's here to teach me how to love more, how to forgive more, how to understand that anybody that comes across my path or your path is a teacher to me. Even if they have caused me harm or pain, there's a reason, a karmic reason why we have connected in this life. And I really love having the plants as support because I think it can be really helpful to know that we have energies outside of us holding us in those times of confusion and despair.
Wow, I like that a lot. I know that a lot of people are going through different types of grief, whether it's a
Mhm.
loss of a loved one. People can go through grief even from just a breakup in a relationship. And is your book tailored to, or is it specifically for people who have lost someone through them transitioning on? Or is it a book that also speaks to someone who may have gone through, like, grief in a sense of something breaking up, like a relationship dissolving?
Yeah, yeah, I think what you're speaking of is living grief, essentially, like
Yes.
loss of a job, loss of a friend,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, yeah, I help people move through life transitions like that in my healing work, but this book specifically is to help people navigate the loss of losing someone that they loved. And the reason why I chose to just cater it towards that group is because I feel like in the West we have such a uncomfortable time talking about death and we look at the other traditions that are a part of other cultures, they really honor that. They really honor the passing of a soul onto the next life. It's been such a holy experience for other cultures, but we have been feeling like it's too taboo or it's too uncomfortable. And I think it's important to start to get the conversation going more because death is when someone passes away or someone that we love or know or that has impacted our life dies, it's not just that's it. It's like there's so much actually else that's reborn within our own lives, within ourselves, and within our everyday existence that I think goes missed. And I think could be really, honestly, like disappointing if we don't have the tools to see maybe that their death is actually a gift and actually something that can bring us to maybe a greater lesson or a greater teaching that we otherwise wouldn't have known that they passed on.
So your father was, like, had an illness throughout his life?
Yeah, when I was younger, he was more so an alcoholic turned into a heroin addict. So he was an addict for majority of his life, and I believe after all the work that I've done, it was really because he had so much trauma that he didn't know how to cope with that then led him to soothing through and numbing through drugs that could take him away from his pain versus him doing the work to lean into and hold and look at what was actually there behind the surface.
So it means that you're able to understand what someone is going through that is dealing with a loved one that is struggling or going through an addiction right now and what that
Yeah.
feels like. That what is that feeling? That's like a heavy stress or
I would say, like, the deepest wound of that is abandonment, neglect and abandonment, yeah, because usually if a parent or a loved one is an addict, they're not really present. They're not able to be, they're not available to be because they're so caught up in their own suffering and their own world of their addiction.
what was it? Was that the thing that led you into your journey to becoming this amazing coach that you are and author?
I would say that was a big part of it. I was actually when I was born into a very dysfunctional family, my mother actually has schizophrenia and my father was an addict. And could you imagine just like being in a home with two mentally ill and unwell parents that could really not give me my needs, could not even put food on the table every night or worse and worse, pretty bad. And I was also adopted to live with my aunt and uncle when I was 6 years old. And so there was a lot of, I would say, attachment disorders that I had that I've had to work through and I'm still working through, of course. But one of the main reasons for my healing journey and for doing this work with others is because I had a near death experience when I was 9 years old. And I met you could say, my guides, my angels that were from the unseen realms, and essentially gave me a choice of, yeah, you have to come back and you have to bring this light into the world. This is like part of why you're here. And so I came back from that near death experience and had 7 more episodes of a collapsed lung and was in and out of the hospital for 5 years as a young girl.
Oh,
But then I forgot about that's one that made me want to be a nurse because I had associated, like, angels and nurturing and caregiving with nursing. And so I sought the path to be a nurse, but then 2 years into my nursing career, I was like, "Oh, this is not actually aligned, and I know I'm meant to bring my gifts in a different way." And then I remembered that connection with my guides, and then my whole spiritual awakening began, and here I am doing this
doing the
work.
work. Yes.
Yeah.
So you knew at the age of 9 that we were not here alone and that there was something greater than us on the other side. Can you
Mhm.
share more about that experience? What was your experience like when you met your guides? Was it like what was that like? What did it feel like it was surreal or you knew that it was like
Felt like home. It felt like home. It was when sometimes when people have near death experiences, they say they like died and saw their whole life pass them by and all the things. And I did not have that. I just had this moment where I literally was in I would say, out of body experience. And like I just saw 1,000 angelic beings around me in different colors. And I
oh,
just felt peace and presence and love and that everything was going to be okay. And essentially, like what I felt like it was like a remembrance of my true spirit, of my true self, of who I've always been. Is like this angelic angelic being of light, essentially. And then it was like, okay, now go back to earth and do the work that you're here to do. And I still have, I would say, still some work to do around how much it hurt to come back because who wouldn't want to stay there? But that was not part of my path. And so I felt like I really had no choice. But
yeah.
of course, my soul chose to carry on.
Yes. And I'm glad you did because you have a lot of gifts that you're sharing. And I was looking at all of the work that you do, how you hold space for people. And I love it. I think that you're doing a great job and you definitely are supposed to be here. I don't believe that things happen by chance. And I think it's
For sure.
divine. Things are divine. I remember I have to share this with you. When my brother passed on, I remember just feeling this heavy feeling because we shared the same birthday. And I was like,
Wow.
I don't, but we were 4 years apart. And I remember thinking, I don't want to celebrate my birthday. And I was just going through this. I felt like I was here, but it's just like life just seems like it's moving and you're just like in it. And I don't know. It's like you're trying to figure out how to ground yourself. And I was in
Mhm.
my living room and I all of a sudden this energy came into the space and I felt it. It was him. And we got up and I actually danced with him. And that energy spun me around and I was just like crying and I thought, but it was so powerful. I thought no one will ever believe this. But and I was just like, he was there in the spirit and I couldn't see him or anything, but I just felt it. And so that brought me great comfort. And I remember going to bed that night and my sister had flew in because we were planning things, the funeral and everything. And so I had a townhouse that had 4 levels at the time. My mom was on 1 level and my sister was on 1 and I was upstairs and we had the same dream. And, he
Mhm.
was in a wheelchair when he passed away and he was actually walking down a hall and I was like, "I had a dream about Craig last night." And mom's, "I had it too. I had a dream about him and he had this." And then my sister's like, "I did." We were just all trying to get it out and we were saying the same thing. So we were all allowed to see the same vision.
I love that so much. And how validating, right? Because I think sometimes when we do have these spiritual experiences, it's, do I even believe that this is happening?
Yeah.
Almost, but like you can't not in a way. Like it's made that much of an impression. And I also love that you talked about that because in the book, I give the reader the opportunity to open themselves up for signs and synchronicities from their loved one that's passed. And so it's this way different perspective shift that if they were to kind of flick on the switch within themselves, that actually they probably would have a lot more connection to their loved one that they might not have even thought that they could. So I love that also you were open to receiving his visitation.
Oh, yes. I was not expecting it, but I was quite
Mhm.
happy when it happened. And I hear people sometimes people are looking for a specific, like, when you say be open, definitely be
Mhm.
open because it may not come in the form of what you think it should. It might be a hummingbird that just won't leave you alone, and you're like, "Okay," but it keeps coming back, or I don't know, it's all different types of things. What do you think about when a person finds coins, like dimes everywhere? Is that weird? Or
No, I
just
just have the crazy chills. I love that you just said that because my grandmother actually used to collect dimes and she passed when I turned on my birthday, so she died when I turned 7, which is wild. And one of
did you
her
say on your
things,
birthday? Oh, wow.
yeah, so talk about a death and birth happening at one
Yeah.
time. Yeah, but one of the ways that she communicates to me is I'll find a dime or whatever. Even today, I didn't find a dime on the street, but I found 3 pennies and a quarter, and I'm just laughing because you brought that up, and I was just like, "Oh, yeah, it's a gift from spirit or it's a gift from a loved one or whatever," and I really encourage people to trust their intuition. If they pick up that coin and they feel the presence of their uncle or they feel the presence of their son or whoever has passed, just trust that. Don't even question that because there's nothing bad that can happen from you really leaning into that. If anything, it's just, wow, what a gift.
Yes. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that is pretty awesome. So I know that does happen, is what I'm getting at, that it comes in different forms, and my sister told me we have different moms, but when her mom's mom passed away, she's laying in the bed, and there was a light that just came in, and it was just like, right up there on the ceiling, and she felt this strong sense that was her grandmother.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it can come in like through, of course, it's even studied that spirits can come in through the electricity, or if you see, like my father, when he passed, his spirit animal that he came through in is a blue heron. And I was just seeing it everywhere. And then the other day, I went for a walk and literally saw the most beautiful blue heron. And it was so close to me. And I was like following it for an hour. And I'm just like, And it came at a time where I just really needed to feel like everything was going to be okay. It's amazing.
How's your
So,
relationship today with your family members, like with your mom, like with your aunt? Is it a great one or is it something that you where there was never really an issue?
oh, there was definitely issue. Yeah, for sure. I would say my mother and I've been able to come to a point with her where I can receive the love that she has to give instead of wishing that she was different or could give me something different than she just simply is not capable of. And that took a lot. That was just like uncovering the abandonment wound, the neglect wound, the mother that didn't protect me wound, like over and over again until I was able to really, like said, like really release that energy from my body and to really see her as a human being that did the best that she could with the cards that she was dealt. And it's not like I got to that place like it's like I think we all have an understanding if we're a compassionate and empathetic person that those who have harmed us or our parents did the best that they could. But there's one thing about saying that and intellectualizing it and saying it and knowing it in your body and in your heart. And I knew that, but it took me years to know it. And again, I would say all the modalities that I teach have been a huge ally with that. And so now, like, when she calls me, it's not like I pretend not to answer. I'm excited to talk to her, shoot the shit about baseball and things like I don't care about, but I know that she cares about. And yeah, that has been huge. And I also, and with my aunt too, it's still a work in progress. But one thing that this healing journey has really supported me with is like really empowering myself to be the inner mother and inner father that I didn't get as a kid. And I think we're all capable of that. And I feel like we all can be led and guided towards that. It just takes a lot of deep work to, and a lot of courage to say, okay, I'm not going to live this life in victimhood. I'm going to create the life and reality that I want. And I am the only one responsible for that. So,
I love
yeah.
that. Are you a parent yet?
Not technically. I do have 2 cats, so I feel like
Hey,
I'm a
you're
cat.
yeah.
Yes, and I would say, to be honest with you, like, my clients, my community, those that I serve feel like my children because it feels like a very motherly, nurturing energy, so I get to have that with them in a way that I don't have with my own set of children, and I don't know if I want children yet, we'll see.
I was gonna ask, do
Mhm.
you think that because sometimes, like, I have a son who says, "I do not want kids." So some and that's open for people to make that decision on what they want to do. But yeah, you do have a very nurturing spirit, a beautiful soul. So you do retreats as well? That means, like, people from wherever they live could actually come to wherever that retreat is whenever you set have them and set them up.
Totally, yeah, and actually my partner and I just bought a house last year with it's a community house too, so there's a ceremony space and then we have 4 extra bedrooms so people can sleep over and we can host them in our home and we have a backyard space and all that. Yeah, we're in Portland, Oregon, and we'll have people fly in from I just had a client that flew in from Philadelphia last weekend for a whole weekend of healing work to do.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's good stuff. Really good stuff. And that was my next question. Where are you? So you're in Portland. Do you work
Mhm.
with people through the healing modalities that you offer through distance work, or is it all only in
Totally. No, I do both. I do both, and I also travel to people if that's what they want, like a more curated experience. But yeah, I work with people virtually, in person. I work in many different ways. I'm accessible in that way.
Oh, that's great. That's good stuff. That means that you guys are able to reach out to Christine Marie and it's flexible. She's very flexible, is what it sounds like. So I have to go back to your new book that just came out 2 weeks ago. What was it like to write the book? And how long did it take?
So this is my second book. So I wrote my first one and published it in 2021, which that one was like a 5-year process. And I would say most of those years were like really moving through limiting beliefs and fear of criticism and fear of being seen. And so I felt like I got to do a lot of that inner work during for that book. And so when it came to this book, it felt just a lot more lighter, a lot easier. It took me it was like after my dad died, it was like at 3 weeks after was like when I started downloading the whole thing on an airplane and wrote it in that way. I also feel like this book was a little bit easier to write because it's more of a guided experience. Like it's, those that read it, like they have essentially it's an experiential opportunity for them to really learn and do the practices and exercises. And there's poems and meditations and prompts and rituals included. I think I've been working on my third book actually the last year, and that is like a lot. But yeah, it's a very vulnerable process putting your art out there, hoping that one person finds it supportive. And so far, so good. It was sold out on Amazon the first day it was released. So that is good news. And I just keep hearing that people really need this. And that only reason why I felt the call to do it because I was like, this is something that I needed. And so why not be the one to create it so that other people can have the tool and opportunity to use it?
I'm glad that you listened to your inner self and did the dang on thing, Christine Marie. No, I know people that need this book too. I had mentioned to you before the show started that I had met someone. Like, I know we just had this event that we put on like last year for 2 years in a row. It was in the month of June. And one of the ladies, she had her funeral on Thursday of last week. I just know, like, it's something that's inevitable that people will experience and face, and so there's not, like, a lot of tools out there to help people through the grieving process. I have a really close friend who lost her husband, and then her
Mhm,
daughter lost her husband. So they both lost husbands, and it's not my I didn't have any tools really that I felt that I could assist them with in a way that they really needed. I was reverting back to the things that I know, but I felt like they needed something a little bit more. Do you know what I'm saying? That was specifically speaking to grief in the way
mhm.
of a loss of a loved one.
For sure, yeah. And I think it's really normal to be a human being and to not know the right thing to say when someone loses someone that they love because you don't want to say the wrong thing or trigger anything. And so sometimes we don't say anything at all, and that can feel hurtful. And so I think having something that you can just send as a way to show that you're thinking about them and that you're caring about them. And I necessarily might not have the tools, but here's something that I heard might help you.
I
And
love
that's the best that you can do. Yeah.
I always say that books make the best gift, and I love that you brought that up because they actually do, and this would be, like, the ultimate gift to give someone, whether that is a family member, a friend, a coworker that's going through that, and what I like to do sometimes is when you're in a work environment is everybody pitch in a couple dollars and they help to get flowers and then a book. That would be something like that would be, like, the best, and then they get to pick it up when they're ready.
And I think that's so beautiful that you said that because what I like to I said this in the book in the beginning of it before it starts, but I want to say this now is if you feel like you're still in a very raw and vulnerable place to where that might feel like too much because you're just literally trying to survive through your feelings of the grief and the loss, that's totally okay. Like you can pick it up when you feel ready. You can also skip some pages that might not feel like you can meet them yet. Like it's a book that you can hopefully at least find something, whether it's I have a playlist in there, even if it's just the playlist that you can listen to while you're having your emotions expressed. So there's something in there for everybody, no matter where they're at on their journey. And I think that's really important.
I think that's important as well. I definitely agree. What was the name of your first book?
And it's called Breaking Free.
Is that book still available for people to purchase as well?
Totally. Yeah,
Oh,
you can see these books on my website or on Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. I actually really enjoyed talking with you today, and I'm grateful that we crossed paths. And I think I learned something new again because I love to have what was the original name of the mushrooms that started with the P? I said, I can't
Yeah.
even say the name. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, it's called psilocybin. And so in the state of Oregon, which is where I'm at, it's the first state that legalized psilocybin for therapeutic use. So you can literally fly to Oregon to have a therapeutic session with this medicine and it's legal, which is huge. Just so people are aware if they're like afraid of, oh, I don't, that doesn't sound like a safe thing. You'll be fine if you're doing it in the state of Oregon under the legal model. That's what you want.
Do you facilitate it with them or do they just buy it and go, like, somewhere?
Oh, it's a completely guided experience. So, like, we're doing preparation work, we're meeting, we're talking, we're going over history, we're going over intentions, and then we get to the service center and we begin the experience. I'm not ingesting the medicine, but I don't need to. I'm already in the energetic field and I'm holding the space energetically and safely. Of course, if they need me, if they need a hand, people really like to do this work with feeling safe. And so I provide that safe space and then we get to integrate after. So if they had the experience and of course, material will just come out. And then we get to talk and integrate and do sessions after that helps them make more meaning of their experience and giving them tools to move forward.
Is it kinda like ayahuasca experience? And
Oh,
that's
ayahuasca.
yeah,
They're
or
completely different medicines. Ayahuasca comes from Peru and Hawaii, and it's just a completely different medicine than psilocybin. But yes, they're both under the psychedelic category, and they both have healing properties for others wherever they're at. Honestly, not all psychedelics are for everybody, but that's why we get on a screening call to make sure that this would be the right thing for you.
oh, okay. I love
Mhm.
that you're supporting it in a way where you're holding space for them and ensuring that it is that you guys are not just left to just go off on your own. So I love that. It's like a pretty
Yeah.
safe space. So I think that's good stuff.
Totally, and I think
Yeah.
it can really heal even say if someone has an abandonment wound or a neglect wound, like, even if they're going through a challenging time in the medicine journey and I'm there as a supporter person, that can in itself help heal that abandonment wound, like, it can bring repair, so there's a lot that can happen and heal in just one journey. They say it's worth 10 years of therapy in one journey,
Wow.
so
It sounds like good stuff. That's
that's
amazing.
good stuff.
Oregon is like on top of it. I think that state was the first state to make marijuana legal too, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. I
Wow.
think we're pretty, I would say, progressive over here.
Yeah, a little bit, even more than Cali, because California is
Mm.
very you would think that over there it would be like they're the first for everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure, yeah.
that's good stuff. Before we end our show, is there anything that you want to leave our audience with, or is there anything that we didn't talk about or we missed that you wanna share?
Yeah, I think just for whoever's listening to just know that you don't have to be fully healed in order to be of service or to be in service. That authenticity is more magnetic than perfection. And if you are someone that feels called to be in service or called to share your gifts with others, whatever that looks, that, yeah, I just give you permission to explore that because I think we need, especially women, more women to rise into their leadership and into their power to help balance out the world right now. And yeah, I hope that you get to share yourself and your light with the world because we need it.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love it. Like, I could talk to you, like, for a whole 'nother hour.
We should just do this again.
Absolutely. You definitely have to come back to the show. I would love to do something where we had like a little small panel of people that might have experienced a grief that are not in the coaching space or like where you're on there and they're sharing a little bit. Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job and I'm excited about the fact that you're writing a third book. That's good
Thank
stuff.
you.
That's good stuff.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. Christine Marie, you guys, you've got to pick up her book. What's the name of the book
Thank you.
again?
Grieve with guidance.
Grieve with Guidance. Grieve
Mhm.
with Guidance. It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Grieve with Guidance. You have support
Mhm.
in doing that. Thank
Mm.
you so much.
Thank you.